A few months passed and I was feeling depressed. I saw a cousin who referred me to a therapist, who then diagnosed me with a serious depressive disorder and attention deficit. She told me prescribed medicine and therapy, which helped a lot with my mood. With the passing of the time, I was ready to return to church, to go back to the class of training of ministers and completing what I started. However, in the 5 years that I was away, they rebuilt the program. An associate minister was in charge. I approached the associate minister asking if he would be able to rejoin the class. He told me there were some things I owed do before that. At that moment I remembered when I was in school and tried the training of ministers there, receiving exactly the same answer. He never mentioned what these other things were. Waited, and I waited, and nobody informed me of anything. Several of my friends who had entered the program were back in town, which left me confused. I prayed more, thinking that maybe I had misunderstood God. Maybe my calling to be a minister was the most obvious. So I attended church faithfully, even though my faith began fading a bit. Interest was expressed in starting a ministry of dance, and when I came home after school after she'd been established, I auditioned to join the dance ministry. I felt that my movement communicated to God what I could not say. A way to communicate the message of salvation through dance. How principle it was not attractive or devout to be arrogant, but I had skills for someone who had no training. People commented on how much they were blessed when they saw me dance. The most appropriate response was always, "Praise be to God." This had to be the ministry that God spoke of. He loved it, people responded to him, team members weren't treacherous, and nor was there much gossip. Perfect. But one Sunday, while listening intently to a sermon, I had this question about the nature of God, the actions of Adam, and the actions of God. Eve and reason. It stayed with me during the work week. I started researching this line of questioning, but it bothered me terribly. Because if God was omniscient and knew that we would sin, why would he put the tree there to basically tempting us if by his nature does not tempt humans? He permits. And let's say it was the divine plan, why wouldn't he forgive Adam and Eve? Beyond, why would he require a blood sacrifice to protect himself from our lives? Sin, which was taught to support Jesus' death as an atonement for sins. What does this blood do for God? One question led to another. These were a few pages of questions I wrote to trying to find answers. In a series of sessions on the internet researching the origins of Christianity, I stopped attending church. I had never been good at hide my feelings, and I wouldn't start hiding them from God. It was around this time that I decided to attend university. I had gotten married, had a baby, and was sailing through the life. Up to that point I had predominantly attended churches and schools black. I started in one discipline, but switched to another whose classes were mostly on the main campus. In my first class, one observed people in the room: whites, blacks, an Asian, Africans, and people from the Middle East. She was the only black American. In addition, there were 2 Muslim girls who sat together. One was pregnant and enthusiastic, and the other seemed quiet and studious. Before that, my only experiences with Muslims took place in high school. Some boys who belonged to the Nation of Islam, and 2 girls who wore the scarf, but at that time had not paid attention